Welcome back to the Operation Freedom YouTube channel. What we do here is shine the light of truth on the deep state. They hate that. We do it figuratively with our presentations. We do it literally with our sponsor's product, PatriotLegacy.com. PatriotLegacy.com, featured product of theirs, the Patriot Beacon. 6 overall lighting functions. In addition, solar powered, don't need batteries. You can charge your other devices like your phone from it. In addition, you got a compass, you got a window breaking hammer, and you got a seatbelt cutter. Plus, if those deep state dweebs get just a little bit too close to you, blast them with this. They're gone. Go to patrioticlegacy.com, patrioticlegacy.com. Get yourself, your kids, your grandkids, your car. Can carry it with you anytime. patrioticlegacy.com, the Patriot Beacon. Slow Joe Biden's response was, quote, Trump was a, quote, xenophobe, end quote. Washington Post said, quote, Trump overreacted, end quote. No, what President Trump did is potentially stem the tide of this infectious disease coming on our shores. And Dr. Anthony Fauci, who I believe is legit, he's a scientist of the highest quality. He is not a political hack. Anthony Fauci has come out and said that, and wrote about it in the New England Journal of Medicine this past week, that travel ban that President Trump and his administration, that he took all kinds of grief from the globalists from, helped protect Americans and reduced the risk to Americans. And while they're too busy criticizing President Trump and his administration, when in fact they've been ahead of this game for a couple years, the globalists such as Pelosi and Schumer and the rest of them have been allowing the open borders to continue in our country. Southern border, northern border, you name the border. There isn't a border that they want to have as a sieve. And what's happened, what's been occurring to the health and welfare of American citizens because of that open border policy of the globalists, of which Schumer and Pelosi and Biden and Warren and Bernie Sanders and all of them have embraced? How about this? 70,000 Americans die per year due to opioid abuse. And a big chunk of those opioids are coming right across our borders. They're not homegrown. 70,000 Americans, because of their open border policy, die every year. The illegal aliens coming through the borders. We don't want a wall. We don't want, not just a wall. We just bring them. Come on. The New Way Forward Act. I talked about it last week. If you didn't watch that video, you should. It's about a complete destruction of our borders. Exactly what the globalists want. Chaos. But it also brings illness and deaths. Illegal aliens in our country are responsible for 24% of all federal drug arrests, 25% of all property arrests, 28% of all fraud arrests. 7% of our population is comprised of illegal aliens, yet 64% of all federal arrests are related to illegal aliens. In Texas alone, between June of 2011 and August of 2019, 297,000 arrests were obtained and implemented of illegal aliens. Of those, 500 homicides were committed, 24,000 assaults on American citizens, 8,100 burglaries, 300 kidnappings, 14,000 thefts of private property, and 3,100 sexual assaults. The very people accusing President Trump and his administration on this infectious disease issue does not acknowledge the national biodefense strategy that's been in place for 2 years, specifically relating to what we're facing today coming from China. And they're allowing open borders. That's benefited the opioid problem in our country and the illegal alien issue leading to this the death, destruction, and chaos that's occurred. And also, the number of diseases that are coming through our borders because of the open border policy, also inflicting harm on the American public. In fiscal year 2018, the Yuma sector of the Border Patrol incurred more than $700,000 in medical care costs to cover 1,700 aliens who were apprehended and had to be transported immediately to the hospital. Other aliens show up sick, particularly children, some of whom are suffering from illnesses not generally seen in modern American society, including mumps, measles, tuberculosis, as well as others with influenza, scabies. There have been some recent pickups of folks, individuals, illegal aliens coming across the border with coronavirus, it's my understanding. Plainly, the Border Patrol is not able to turn these individuals away without treatment. It is important to note that the possibility of aliens crossing the border with communicable diseases is not a recent subject. In fact, concern about diseases crossing borders is not unique to the United States or even modern times. The Center for Disease Control notes that, quote, the practice of quarantine as we know it began during the 14th century in an effort to protect coastal cities from plague epidemics. Ships arriving from Venice from infected ports were required to sit at anchor for 40 days before landing. This practice, called quarantine, was derived from the Italian words quaranta and giorni, which means 40 days. Look, we celebrate Ellis Island. Michael Kuttner on our platform, immigration specialist extraordinaire expert, has spoken about when Ellis Island was opened in 1892. It was the largest quarantine site in our country. It was there to help admit people into our country. But it was also there to protect the Americans that were currently in the country from diseases. We are facing an issue here with this infectious disease. I've gone into great depth on our DaveJanda.com platform, even greater, much greater depth in our subscription platform. This is not a time to be complacent. It is not a time, however, to panic. As the days and weeks go on, you are going to see increasing numbers of individuals who are testing positive for the coronavirus. Now, one of the faults I have with not President Trump, not his task force, but with the CDC was slow with their test kits, getting them out to the public, getting them out to providers. Some of those test kits had bad reagents in them. President Trump, with the institution of his task force, has brought in the private sector to also produce these testing kits so they'll be more prevalent. And because they're more prevalent, more people are going to test positive because more people are being tested. If you go back to the ground zero studies in Wuhan, China, the vast majority of people that test positive are either asymptomatic or minimally symptomatic. The ground zero studies show that the folks that are over 70 or 80 years of age have a higher risk of contracting a more severe case of this infectious disease. Why? Because they have underlying medical conditions. Underlying cardiovascular disease, not just for days or weeks, but years. Diabetes, untreated diabetes. Pulmonary issues. Long histories of smoking, which adversely affect the lungs to begin with. There are certain steps to take to reduce the potential viral load, and we've discussed this in our video with Dr. Glidden. But we need to keep everything in perspective. And this finger pointing that's occurring of the globalists pointing at the Trump administration of not being on this. Yeah, the National Biodefense Strategy from August 9th, 2018. They were well ahead of the curve. I thank you for joining me today. I hope you'll join us on the radio show every Sunday, 2 to 5 Eastern. You can stream it live at davejanda.com. And I hope you'll become part of our Freedom family. We go into great depth as it relates to the issues, not just on this infectious disease issue, but all issues across the board. We bring great guests forward, experts in their fields, and we have an enormous resources in the medical field that I've developed over 30 years of being a physician to bring that information forward. Information that I find the bought-off lamestream fake media is not providing. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thank you for your time today.